Okay, very good. Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this year's virtual health fair, where we hope everyone brings into wellness. Today's festivities are brought to us by none other than Dr. Kenneth Hamilton, our Superintendent of Schools, along with the Mount Vernon City School District, in conjunction with Dr. Wellbeing Bennett Conroy and Marlon Stevenson, and the Office of School Improvement. My name is Rebecca Jones, and I am the principal of Lincoln School, and I am the super delighted host of today's virtual fair, along with two of our hardest working parent liaisons, Ms. Sandra O'Connor and Ms. Rita James, who have put so much time and energy into making today a success. So we thank you, ladies, and we thank everyone who is here today. We have an exciting afternoon lined up for you, which will include some yoga and mindfulness activities, as well as presentations by a panel of distinguished mental health experts, along with some cooking tips. And we even have some gift baskets and some giveaways. So it promises to be a wonderful afternoon. But without any further delay, I have the distinct pleasure of introducing the man at the helm, the person who has been doing an unbelievable job of guiding us through the many challenges of educating our children in the midst of a pandemic. At this time, I am honored to introduce our wonderful Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Kenneth Hamilton.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for that introduction, Rebecca Jones. I am indeed honored to be the leader of this district because I am privileged to work with some of the most exceptionally talented, dedicated people I have encountered in my 36 years of education. Today's health fair is really about setting appropriate priorities around mental wellness. And I think that our conduct and our behavior helps us identify what we value and what we deem to be important. So while we have spent a lot of time talking about mental wellness and helping our students, our staff, and our parents to be as healthy as possible in this environment, talking about it and not moving to action is, in my view, reckless. So I thought it would be a good idea for us to begin to devote some time to helping people connect with a plethora of resources available in our district and in our community that will help them function better and navigate challenges that they may be experiencing as a result of the pandemic. So as we have been experiencing this unprecedented impact on our world, in our community, and on our lives, I have noticed that people are, in many instances, just going through the motion and just doing what we need to do to get through and get by. And I think that sometimes we perhaps overstress the impact of the stress associated with how we navigate where we are. And we assume that our level of resilience is really greater than it is because we just do what we have to do and move on to the next task. I'm particularly challenged about what it must be like to need help and not know where to go to get it, or to have in your toolkit skills, strategies, and resources that you may be able to access immediately, even on your own, as you self-help or seek opportunities for self-help. So this afternoon, we are doing this health fair to connect you with resources. And there could not be a better facilitator than the dear Rebecca Jones, who is full of energy and a staple here in our community, whom I love, adore, and respect. So you are in good hands. And we have an impressive panel of folks who have decided to join us this afternoon. And kudos to Wellbeing Bennett Conroy, my true right hand here in central office. We're pulling it all together. I said to Dr. BC, so, I think I want to do a health fair. I think it's time for us to really devote some time to helping our parents and our staff. And the next thing I know, I had a date and here we are. So I'm going to pass the mic back to my dear Rebecca and say thank you all for being here. Thank you for those of you who are on the panel and will be talking and presenting and sharing resources with us. And I have no doubt that we're going to be better people by 3 o'clock today, simply because someone had an idea and someone else executed. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hamilton. Thank you for those inspiring words and for your leadership during, as you said, this unprecedented time. We appreciate all that you are doing. And so we are going to jump right in with our first giveaway. So I'll show you it right here. It is a wonderful workout gift basket. So this is how it's going to work. Those of you who have logged into this webinar, your names have come up, and what we're going to do is randomly select a name. So Cece, at this time, please find us a name, because we have this wonderful workout basket that's going to somebody, and it is going to, let's see, you might be the lucky winner. Okay, somebody named Alea. Is there somebody named Alea here? I'm sure there is. Well, thank you. This goes to Alea now. Alea, let me explain to you. You are going to call Sandra O'Connor, one of our parent liaisons, at 665-5032 to make arrangements to pick up this workout basket so you can get your workout on, because if you're like me, you might have put on just a couple of pandemic pounds. So you will get this wonderful gift today. And this is really the perfect segue to our next piece. At this time, we're going to kick off the afternoon with some exciting yoga and mindfulness activities presented by Susan Freed. Susan is the owner of Budding Buddhist Kids Yoga and has brought yoga and mindfulness to thousands of children over the past 10 years. She believes that the benefits of yoga and mindfulness will also help our children and their families better connect with the classroom and their everyday lives. So at this time, get ready, folks. I hope you guys are ready to move around a little bit. We are going to have Miss Susan of Budding Buddhist at this time.
Thanks. Thank you. So hi, everyone. Hi, Mount Vernon families. Maybe I've seen some of you at the library and classes. It's great to be here. Let's just dive right in. Yoga and mindfulness should feel good. I think it makes you feel peaceful and happy. We might get a little bit wild, so we can learn to quiet down. And I always like to start with our breathing, because our breathing can control our big emotions, right? Big emotions of frustration or anger, but also like so exciting about like a gorgeous day outside, or you're anxious in line to go on the slide. Whatever it is, we do our breathing. So let's just have a seat wherever you are. Make yourself comfortable. You want to be on the floor, you want to be on a couch, you want to stand up. Doesn't matter to me. Just make your body happy. So I'm going to sit in crisscross. We call it Sukhasana, but I'm just going to have a little seat, and we're going to start with our breathing. This breathing quiets our mind and our body. It can be done anywhere, anytime. It takes less than 30 seconds. So again, even I have a son who plays with Miss Jones's son basketball. Before they play, sometimes they'll do their breathing to quiet down. They're 12 years old. Anywhere, anytime. Heart open, long back. Yes, so wherever you are, even in a desk chair. Inhale, breathing in through your nose like you're smelling a flower. And exhale out through your mouth like you're blowing a candle. We're going to do 6 more of these. Inhaling, breathing in. Maybe you put your hand on your heart. And exhaling, blowing out. And inhaling, that's 2. And exhaling, inhale. And exhale. And again, inhale. And exhale. And one more. Inhale, breathe in like you're smelling a beautiful spring flower. and exhale. Now, hand on heart, hand on tummy. Maybe you close your eyes and feel your body and your mind. Is it quiet and calm? 6 inhales and exhales. That's about it. Now, let's do some stretching. Yoga stretching makes you super strong. LeBron James does yoga 5 days a week. It makes you happy. So let's do a little stretching. And in spring, we want to clean things out, right? So we're going to clean out our body a little. Sit with a long back and an open heart. Breathe in, reach up to the sky. Breathe out. One hand comes down and you reach over. Breathe in. Breathe out, stretching to the side. Can you guys feel it? In and out. Oh, and in and out. So we're stretching our sides here. Now, again, long and strong. Breathing in, we're twisting. We're cleaning our body. And out. So our left hand is in our right knee, and we lengthen long back, and we twist our body. Not our neck maybe, but just our body. Inhale and stretch. And stretching, twisting, cleaning those insides. And breathe in, reach up. Breathe out. We're twisting the other way. Our right hand is on our left knee. And twisting. Breathing in and out. And one more. And out. And now, come to the center. Sometimes we've been sitting a lot, right? Like this, or hanging out. Let's stretch our backs, because sometimes it feels pretty good. Sit with a long back again, wherever you are, wherever you're comfy, okay? And if you're outside, do that outside. Roll your shoulders up and back, and forward, up, and back. We're going to do about 3 more. Does anyone feel crunchies? I do. It's okay. We're going to get them out of there. And forward, up, and back. And now we're going to do the opposite. Back, up, and forward, and back, up, and forward, and back, up, and forward. Beautiful. Now shake your legs out. Shake them, shake them, shake them. And crisscross. Have your, maybe if you think about it, have your left foot in front, but it doesn't really matter. Breathe in and breathe out. And we're putting our hands in front of us and our bottom stays down. We're stretching our hips, guys. We keep all of our emotions in our hips. So sometimes when we stretch them, it just feels a little more chill. Couple deep breaths here. And if you can't feel this, some of you guys are really flexible. You'll come down further. If you can feel it, just stay up. 3 deep breaths. Stretching and relaxing. And come up. And now, shake it, shake it, shake it. The other side. So your other foot is in front. And notice your body's going to feel different on both sides. It's all good. Breathe in and out. Do you notice the different sides? Whoa. Yeah, it's pretty intense. 3 deep breaths. Breathe in. And 2. And 3. And come up. And now sit with wherever your hands want to go. In front of your heart, on your knees, wherever. Close your eyes and pay attention to your body and your mind. How does it feel? Just 1 big deep breath, noticing how you feel. That was about 2 minutes of stretching. Beautiful. And now, one of the things, guys, why we do yoga is to help be peaceful and calm, right? And that's a nice way to go through life. But in addition to that, guys, it helps make us kinder, nicer people. So we're just going to do a kindness chant. If you're a little older, I know it might be a little silly, but it's fun and I think it feels good. So sitting crisscross again. Heart open, always heart open, long back. Put your hands on the ground and say the words after. Here, I'm going to back up a little so you can see me. Say the words after me. Be. Put your hands on your knees. Kind. Hands together. Every day. Let's do it. Be kind. every day. One more. Be kind every day. Let's whisper it twice. Be kind every day. Whisper it one more time. Be kind every day. Now just think those words. Try it one more time with eyes closed. And now bring your hands down. How do you feel? Just notice how you feel. I think it's kind of nice. All right, let's shake it. So guys, now we're gonna move a little more. When we shake our hands near our ears like this, it's a release. It's kind of fun. It feels good. Believe it or not, it also helps with our focus. So maybe before you have an assignment, a test, or just want to really have focus, go like this, and let's count to 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Freeze. Is your heart going a little bit? Is your mind going a little bit? Nice. Okay, let's shake it out. Let's stand on our knees. We're going to do cat-cow. We're stretching our whole back now, okay? It just again, there's reasons for all of this. Our back needs to be flexible so we can come up and down in sports and music and dancing, but also it feels good. Hands on the ground, knees on the ground, looking up, and that's cow pose. And I know it's a little crazy, but I like to moo and meow. So I'm going to moo in cow pose. Can you join me? Moo. And then we do cat pose and we round our back and we push into our hands and it's meow. Meow. Now let's do them together. Moo. Meow. 2 more. Moo. Meow. And one more big one. Like the whole world can hear you. Moo. Meow. And now down dog. Your toes get tucked. And your bottom comes up high in the sky and you're in down dog and this is a full body stretch. And it's fun. Shake your doggy tail. Shake a doggy leg. Say hi. Shake another doggy leg. Namaste. Another paw. Hi. And now walk your feet to your hands. Tickle your toes. Bend your knees if you need to touch your toes. And then come all the way up. Okay, guys. Standing up. Let me get this going. All right, guys, standing up. Let's do our tree pose, and then we're going to just do a silly song, okay? Tree pose. Again, fun. Tree pose helps with balance, with focus, with stability, with strength. Your tree pose, your feet can stay on the ground and come next to each other, or they can go up a little bit, or they can go even higher. Doesn't matter. Whatever you feel like today. That's what's so great about yoga and mindfulness. Whatever you need today, you do it. Our arms out. Maybe we put them in front. Some kids like to do a mudra. Like their fingers, you see the okay sign? It's kind of fun. Or up. So let's just start. One hand on heart, one hand on tummy. 3 deep breaths, getting ready for our tree pose balance. You'll just follow along. Breathe in. And out. Maybe you can close your eyes, resetting your whole body. Breathe in and out. And last one. In and out. Okay, guys. Now we're going to do our tree pose. So I'll start with our hands out. Look at something in front of you that isn't moving that helps with your balance and just bring your foot up. And actually, maybe you want to raise your arms. It's feeling kind of good today. So we're going to count to 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Bring it down. Oh, and guys, by the way, if your foot comes down and you can't really balance that well and you bring it back up, that's double thumbs up in yoga because all we care about is trying. So let's try on the other side. And again, notice 2 sides are like 2 different people. Totally different. All right, guys. Hand on heart, hand on tummy, getting ready. Again, this breathing is for anything. Breathe in and out. And 2, and out. Calming down, getting ready for focus. And 3 and out. And where do you want your hands on this side? I'm going to keep them out again, but wherever you want, maybe in front. Whoa. Let's count to 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And release down and shake it out. How did that feel? Again, we just tried. Maybe it was easy, maybe it wasn't. Okay, guys, we're going to do a little bit of a crazy, silly song. And all we do is dance around. And I know that sometimes we get embarrassed, but no one's seeing you and it's fun to let go. So let's see if we can just shake our bodies. We did this another time. Hang on. Oops. Here we go, guys. Hang on. Okay. Let me get going here. Sorry, guys.
Do you wanna play a game? Yes, I wanna play a game. Well, if you
We just follow along and move our bodies and get some.
then stand up tall, tall as you can.
Move from side to side. Let it go. It feels good.
Hold out
One arm and the other. Strong bodies.
Lift your
Your shoulders
up,
are going to roll around, getting some
roll
stretching.
around.
Here we go, guys.
Shake out your head, shake out your arms, and shake your body.
Can you shake your body up and down?
Shake it up and down. Shake, shake, shake.
Let it go. Yes. Listening
Clap your
ears.
hands 3 times. 1, 2, 3.
Jumping up.
into the
Maybe jumping jacks.
Clap your hands 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Now you can
Who can jump super high?
higher.
Can you guys jump super high?
Jump and I
Yes.
jump higher,
Whoa.
higher.
Now we're going to quiet down.
Wave your arms high.
High.
Wave your arms low.
Can you feel your body working?
Now march.
How high can you get your knees?
March really
Fast?
And march really
Super slow. Mindful
March
walking.
really slow.
Here we go.
Lift your shoulders up. Roll them all around.
Let it go, guys.
Shake out
There we
your
go.
Shake out
Who
your
can
arms.
shake? I know.
Your body down.
I know.
Shake it up and down.
Shake, shake, shake.
your body down.
Okay, here we go.
Clap your hands 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Jump up into the game with me. Clap your hands 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Now you
Who can jump higher?
can jump higher.
So high.
You can
Yes.
jump and I can
Higher.
jump higher.
Here we go.
Turn yourself around fast as you can till you fall to the ground.
Can you make a silly
Now
face?
make a face.
Here's airplane pose. Here's our balance, guys. Whoa. Let's shake
Shake your
it.
head down, shake your arms down, shake your shoulders down, shake your legs down, shake your hips
Can you
down,
feel it?
shake your knees down.
Last
shake,
time,
shake,
guys.
Shake your body down. Clap your hands 3 times. 1, 2, 3.
Who can jump? I see someone rocking off.
Clap your hands 3 times. 1, 2, 3.
Who can jump super high? Yes. Even higher. Yes. Higher?
And I can jump higher, higher. Shake, shake, shake your body down.
Oh, right. Nice. So guys, we do that because it's fun and it feels good and we get some exercise. Feel your heart going super fast. So you can feel it right here. Can you feel it? So guys, another reason why we do crazy, silly songs is because it teaches us how to quiet down after being wild. So let's breathe in through our nose and out through our mouth. We're going to do 6 more. I'm not going to use the ball because you can do it anywhere, anytime. Close your eyes or keep them open. Breathe in and out and in and out. That's 2. Quieting our body. 3. quieting our mind. 4 and 5 and 6. And now slowly open your eyes, and how do you feel? So we were totally wild, and now we just calm down in 30 seconds. Now guys, put your fingers together. We're almost there. We're almost finished. Put your fingers together, your thumb and your pointer finger, and say peace. Then bring your thumb to your middle, begins. Then bring your thumb to your forefinger, with, and the pinky, me. So you can put them on your knees or you can keep them up. And we're going to do it all together. Peace begins with me. Let's do it again. Peace begins with me. Maybe you close your eyes. Peace begins with me. And 2, doing it in your mind. One more. Now, one more thing, guys. Relaxation. At the end of yoga and mindfulness, we always lie down and quiet down, and our bodies and our minds connect all the work that we did. So just follow along, okay, guys? Just lie down on a couch, or you can sit up if you feel like sitting up, sit up. If you don't, and you can lie down, lie down. But just relaxing. For 1 minute, guys.
Let your eyes close. Let your body feel heavy.
And just stay there.
Let it go.
Lying there.
Let it all go. Let your eyes close.
Listening to the music, quieting down.
Oh, let it go. Let it all go. And just breathe. Breathe. Just breathe. Just be. Just be. Just be.
Now we're almost finished, but not quite. Wherever you are, begin to wiggle your fingers and your toes. If you'd like to sit up and put your hands in front of your heart, do that, please. And if you don't feel like it and you just want to keep laying down, do that. And think to yourself these words. May I be happy. May I be safe. May I be peaceful. May I be kind. And now, guys, think about someone you love and say these words in your mind. May you be happy. May you be safe. May you be peaceful. May you be kind. And finally, just think about the whole world, the Mount Vernon community, everyone. And say in your mind, may you be kind. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be peaceful. And last thing, guys, everyone together, after me. I am calm. I am peaceful. I believe in myself. Thank you, guys. What a beautiful class. Thank you for joining me.
Well, thank you so much, Miss Sue. Thank you. We had a wonderful time. I tried to keep up with you, and I know I got to get my yoga back on. Thank you so much. We appreciate those wonderful tips of yoga and mindfulness. And so we'll move on from this. We feel very zen right about now. So stick in with us, guys. At this time, we're going to do another giveaway. So it's fitting. We actually have this beautiful spa basket, which is hard for you to see, but it is absolutely beautiful. So we are going to give away this spa basket. And again, we're going to draw a name from those who are in the webinar today. And the lucky winner is Maria Gutierrez. Maria, please make sure you get in touch with Miss Sandra O'Connor at 665-5032. She will give you all of the contact information you need to come by Lincoln School and pick up your beautiful spa basket. It is absolutely gorgeous. So that's a nice way to conclude our yoga session. And now we are going to move into our panel discussion today. And we have with us some really distinguished experts in the mental health profession. The first piece we'll have is called The Facts About COVID-19, the Vaccines, and How to Cope. Our presenter is Dr. Smalls Manty, who conducted HIV vaccine research for a decade at several institutions, including the National Institute of Health. She completed her PhD in pathology at the University of Oxford, later earning her medical degree from Columbia University, and completed her psychiatry residency at the Mount Sinai Hospital, where she served as chief resident. She currently works at NYP, Columbia University, Irving Medical Center, and the Brooklyn Methodist Hospital as an emergency room psychiatrist. Dr. Smalls Manty is also a certified lifestyle medicine physician and a contributor to ABC News Medical Unit. At this time, I have the distinct pleasure of introducing Dr. Smalls Manty. And if you have any questions about her presentation, please feel free to post them in the chat room. And at the end of her session, which will be about 20 minutes or so, she will address them for you. At this time, Dr. Smalls Manty.
Hello, so I'm very happy to join you all today. As it was earlier explained, I did HIV vaccine research for a number of years, and I became interested in doing vaccine research after the anthrax scare, which happened in the early 2000s, and said, once, if there's another pandemic or epidemic or something like that, I want to be there to try to help and fight that. So that's where I got my research interest from. And then I like to say I got distracted by psychiatry when I went to medical school, and have been having a great time doing that as well. But I do feel like it's my mission to let people know about, help them understand more about COVID, the vaccine, just so they feel comfortable when they're making their decision about whether to get the vaccine or not. And what I would first like to, just have people think about is when this started a year ago, how many of us thought that we would still be in this quasi, separated state where we would be learning remotely or not be in contact with each other? I certainly did not. I thought within about 2 months we would be back together. And unfortunately, the pandemic just really got out of hand, and it's gotten to a point where we lost so many lives, unfortunately. But one thing that we do have are ways that we can try to keep ourselves safe, which are the same things that we've been hearing from the beginning. And we now have treatments and prevention measures that are, even better for COVID. So one thing, just to remind everyone, I know we're tired of hearing it by now, but how do you prevent it? The best way is to wear a mask, to social distance, and to wash your hands. Now that we have the vaccine that is also very good for protecting you if you should get the COVID virus. But to prevent yourself from getting it in the first place, continue to wear your mask, especially over your nose, because that is where COVID lives. That's why they're testing it in your, that's why they're doing the nasal swab. So having the mask right below your nose is not helping you or helping anyone else too much. And I know recently there were so many guidelines that were updated by the CDC. So I just wanted to run through those. So because there were about 4 or 5 new changes over the past 3 to 4 weeks. So I just wanted to help people understand what some of those were. One of them was about cleaning and disinfecting. Just on Monday, they were talking about how much cleaning do we have to do. We'll all remember when last year we couldn't find any Clorox wipes or disinfectant spray. And now they're saying that it's important to clean, but disinfecting isn't 100% necessary unless you are cleaning up after a person that has COVID or you have COVID and you need to disinfect. So what's the difference between disinfecting and cleaning? Cleaning, you're immediately putting some solution, soap and water on a surface and wiping it away. Disinfecting, you are spraying whatever that substance is and it's sitting there on the surface for a couple of minutes, 5 to 10 minutes sometimes if you read some of the bottles, and then you're wiping it away. So they're saying maybe we don't have to do the big level of disinfecting like we did before, but still keep cleaning, wipe off door handles, wipe off light switches, things that you're touching a lot like table surfaces. But disinfecting doesn't have to happen at the level of intensity that it did before. Another thing that they updated was when you should get tested. So if you have symptoms, you should get tested, and testing is readily available. If you have been exposed to somebody with COVID, you should get tested. And what does it mean to be exposed? That is being in the contact of somebody for 15 minutes. That's it, that you know has COVID. Then you should also get tested for COVID and quarantine during that time. And also, if you are doing high risk activities like traveling, like going to big outings like a baseball game or football game, or you're going to be in a crowded indoor setting, you should also get tested as well. And we're seeing that a lot of sports venues are sometimes requiring that, depending on the sport and the location. And you get tested, but in the meantime, you're quarantining. What does it mean to quarantine? 14 days. But recently the CDC said you can test out of that long 14-day quarantining. So you can get tested on day 5. And if you have a negative test, by day 8, you can start going out about your business. So that cuts the quarantine time down by about 2 days. If you are vaccinated, though, there are things to remember, like if you're vaccinated or you had COVID within the past 3 months, which is almost, you have those natural defenses in your body that you try to develop with vaccination, you don't necessarily have to quarantine. It is assumed that the vaccine has made you safe if you've completed the vaccine series, and it's about 2 weeks after you got your last vaccine shot. Great news about us being able to travel. If you are vaccinated, they say that there is very little risk, but the CDC is still recommending in general that you do not travel too much, even if you are vaccinated. And it's almost like a common courtesy. You know how when you're eating at a restaurant or even with your family, you wait till everybody at the table gets their food before you all jump in and then start eating. And so it's sort of like that. If some people are going out and traveling and having too much fun, other people are going to want to participate, and you're making it harder for them to really stick to the rules and wait their turn to get the vaccine if they plan to do that. So it's just a little bit longer. Like really, we can have this kind of not wrapped up, but like really underway with just a few bit more weeks, because vaccination is happening at a very high rate. The goal was 1 million shots per day. Now we're at 4 million shots per day. That's amazing. So what I also wanted to talk to you a little bit more about was the vaccine itself and what, how it came to be. Because I think for me, when I heard the goal of we're going to have a COVID vaccine by the end of the year, last year, I thought, well, wow, I was doing HIV vaccine for 10 years. I didn't find a cure that fast, and other people before me didn't. And, some vaccines are harder to develop than others. But when I thought about the science and the way that technology has advanced so rapidly in the past couple of years, I could understand how we could get a vaccine so quickly. So the big thing to remember is that SARS-CoV-2 is called 2 because there was a SARS-CoV-1. There was a coronavirus that came back in 2003. That was when I was younger and also, just starting to get interested in science. And that was very devastating in Asia as well. It came over to America, but it wasn't as bad here. And so since that time in 2003, scientists have been working very hard to find a vaccine and treatments for for this virus and others that are related to them, like MERS, which emerged a little bit later. And the technology that they used for the Pfizer and the Moderna vaccine was also being developed for use for several years as well. So it's not like, oh, COVID happened and within a year, all of a sudden we put all this stuff together. No, it's, like 18, 19 years of research that people have been doing because we were ready. We knew something like this could and very well would happen based on all the new epidemics that were popping up just in the course of over, about 10 years. One of the reasons why, again, we have the vaccine so quickly is because technology has rapidly advanced. Some of the experiments that we do to test for things used to take days to do. Now you can do them in a few hours. Back in the 70s, 80s, you're trying to sequence a gene that would take years. Now, within overnight, they had the sequence for the coronavirus genome. That's just how technology has advanced. And also, the technology for actually manufacturing the vaccine has also gotten so much better as well. So when they decided to do this vaccine, they got the virus sequence, and they were ready to make a vaccine. Within a couple of weeks, they were able to start testing that in people. They were ready to go. And I'll mention that one of the young ladies that Dr. Kizzmekia Corbett at the NIH, who was the lead scientist at NIH that worked on the Moderna vaccine, was somebody that I went to college with, a very brilliant woman. And I also mentioned, I did my research at the NIH as well. And the people that I worked with also started working on the COVID vaccine. So, a lot of great minds were working towards this. And was it only the few groups that were working on COVID? No. The federal government in America and lots of governments around the world put so much money out there for all scientists to start working on this. So if you were working on HIV, the flu, another research group I was with at Mount Sinai was working on, was working on HIV, but started working on COVID. So a lot of great minds started working on this. This wasn't just a few people, it was a worldwide effort. So that's how we could get these going very quickly. And the biggest reason why we are able to have this vaccine so quickly is because when they did the clinical trials, they analyzed the data in real time, and they were starting to enroll people in the next clinical trial stage as they were reviewing the data, making sure everything was safe to move on. They could do the next stage. And so usually with clinical trials, you're doing everything, you're reviewing your data, it takes about 2 years, but after 2 months, you can move to the next step. After 2 months, you can move to the next step because they were rapidly analyzing everything. And the reason why we had FDA approval, and then 2 days later, Moderna, Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, they were being shipped around the world after they were approved or authorized, not approved, authorized, was because the pharmaceutical companies were also starting to manufacture the vaccines just in case they got authorized. That again is because so much money was put towards developing and manufacturing by the federal government. So the companies weren't taking on that risk themselves of losing billions of dollars if the vaccine didn't work out. It would have been the government's money, but the companies could take that risk. If the vaccines did not work out, they would not have distributed it. It would not have been given to anybody. But that is why we could have the vaccines within 2 days of them being authorized. They were ready to go. So I just want to, hope that helps you understand how we got things. No shortcuts were taken. Things were done simultaneously. And even now, they are still doing research studies on the vaccine. They study people for 2 years. I myself have been a candidate in vaccine trials, and they follow you for years after. With that being said, a lot of people say, well, we don't know what long-term effects the vaccines could have. There have been vaccines developed using the same technology that we know are very safe. The Ebola vaccine that is approved is just like the same technology as the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, approved for pregnant women and other special classes of people. And again, these type of vaccines have been tested for years in many other clinical trials. And so how does the vaccine work? You have the Pfizer and Moderna, which are mRNA vaccines. They have to be kept at the really cold temperatures because they're kind of fragile. And the mRNA, I like to say, goes into your body, gives your body instructions on how to build the immune defenses, and then it degrades very quickly within hours. So it does not stay in your body, and it does not, it's not the virus. You cannot get COVID from the vaccine. The Johnson & Johnson vaccine is a defective form, a weakened form of the cold virus with some genetic material from a piece of genetic material from COVID that also goes into your body within a few hours. It degrades, but it's just long enough for your body to see it and start building its immune defenses. So one of my favorite movies is Mission Impossible, where the main character gets instructions for his missions, and it says, here's your instructions, this is your mission, should you choose to accept it, blah, 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 this message will self-destruct in 5 seconds. And literally the COVID vaccine almost works like that. It goes into your body, tells your body, this is your mission, this is your task, should you choose to accept it, and we will self-destruct within a couple of hours. And that's how it goes. So you're not getting the virus, you're not getting infected from any of these vaccines. The vaccines have been tested in over 100 million people, and now and over 100,000 people. But now over 100 million people in America have received the vaccine. So I know a lot of people want to say, I'll wait, I'll see how it goes. 108 million people have gotten it, and nobody has died from the vaccine. But unfortunately, we have over 500,000 people that have died only in America from COVID. So we know that the vaccine will not kill you. It will 100% protect you from dying from COVID. COVID has a high, rate of killing people compared to many other viruses. It's about 2%, and that's a lot. That's really high for a viral illness. You think of other things, maybe like Ebola at 50%, but COVID is really high. It's really, really, really high compared to the flu, which is less than, 0.01%. So you then have other groups that have been vaccinated. 80% of teachers in America have been vaccinated, teachers and school workers. We've also had over 50% of people that are over 65. So that is all really, really great news, how quickly it's happening. And the Biden administration's goal is that everyone over the age of 16 will be eligible to get the vaccine. So I know though, most of the people that are on this talk are either students that are younger than 16 or parents of students that are younger than 16. Right now, Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, and Moderna are doing clinical trials in children from 6 months of age up to the age of 16 to test their efficacy. Pfizer is a little bit ahead of the others, and so that will likely be the first one authorized for children, but it probably won't be available until late summer because they have to go through all the phases, make sure that everything is done safely. And then I anticipate Moderna will come shortly after that, and then Johnson & Johnson. So we're hoping that by the time school begins next year, at least children of middle school age, let's say 12 to 17, because that's the first group of children they tested, would be able to get vaccinated. And then, the age will go down a little bit lower than that. I would also, just to go back to certain things about the vaccine, I received the vaccine as someone that works in the emergency room, and I know there are a lot of concerns about allergic reactions, long-term effects. And so the vaccine, when you're getting the shot, just like every other vaccine shot, you might have some side effects from 1 to 2 days, typically max. Most people might have a sore arm the next day. I did not feel the needle, but I had a little bit of a sore arm, but it wasn't any different than if I had lifted some 20 or 25 pound weights. I'm a weakling, but when you're working out at the gym and you haven't been there for a while, then your arms get a little bit sore. It's like that. Some people I know did feel like they had a mild flu infection, sick, whatever, for a day or two. Nothing that Tylenol would not have been able to help. But that still I would rather take, because I know what that is. And that's your body actually building its defenses. So that's what you would actually expect to happen. Your body is practicing for when you have a real infection. Just like when you are going to a gym and you're training and you're working out, you're getting, you're tired, you're a little bit sore, but you're not necessarily, you're going to be ready for your real event, your real race, your real tournament, whenever that happens. So that's what the vaccine does. And the long-term effects, or the other short-term side effect that most people were concerned about, were the allergic reactions. Now that we're aware of these, which is a very, very, very rare occurrence, less than 5 in a million, very rare, and allergies are very common. Like 1 in 50 Americans has anaphylaxis. We're saying less than 4 in a million maybe experience anaphylaxis due to this. People have much more allergies to regular medications, to food and everything. But the sites are aware of this. So when you go get your vaccine, you're getting it and you're waiting there for 15 minutes, because usually within that time period is when you'll have an anaphylactic reaction. And they are equipped with EpiPens there to make sure that if that happens to you, they can quickly treat you, and if they need to, take you to the hospital. But again, nobody has died even from those bad reactions, but people have died, unfortunately, from COVID. So again, that's the important thing. You want to make it through.
Dr. Small Manley,
Yes.
if I can jump in for a second, because there are a couple of questions I see in the chat. First of all, this information is amazing. I can't thank you enough for sharing with us firsthand knowledge as a researcher. Your experience, I think, is much more digestible, if you will, than things you may read on a website or some of the things you may see on television. A couple of quick questions, though, I want to pose before you finish what you want to share with us. Someone posted in the chat that there have been reported deaths associated with the vaccine. Can you just respond to that for us?
Yeah. So I will say that, unfortunately, people die every day for many different reasons. For people that have taken the COVID vaccine and then have subsequently died, there was a lot of tracking And the federal government and also the drug companies are investigating the causes of those deaths. But to date, none of those deaths have been attributed to the vaccine. It could have been somebody that, had a heart condition, maybe they just had a heart attack, maybe they just had a stroke. It would have happened on the same day in their life had they not received the vaccine. Just like you would say, if you ate, this, but then you unfortunately had, some pneumonia, you wouldn't necessarily say your pneumonia is due to eating a
Right.
pickle. Yeah.
Gotcha. Another question. What about the COVID vaccine and autoimmune diseases?
So, and if you have autoimmune diseases, you have actually been prioritized to get the COVID vaccine. If you're pregnant, if you have autoimmune diseases, if you have hypertension, other medical illnesses, because your body, especially for autoimmune diseases, your body's defenses are not so good at a baseline of fighting infection. So you want to give it every chance that you can give it to be prepared for the fight. So the vaccine helps your body practice. So it's even more important for you to get the vaccine, because when your body sees the real COVID, it might get completely overwhelmed by the infection and you're more likely to die.
Gotcha. Something that I am personally watching every day as it evolves is how long the vaccination will last. The last thing I saw, we're now up to 6 months. Do you have any information about how long this current vaccination will be effective for those who have been vaccinated?
Yeah, we don't know, but there are two things to consider. One, just how long the body's defenses against it work, and then how well the defenses that you have will work against new variants that are coming. Right now, we know, at least for natural infection, if you just got COVID on your own, in 3 months, your antibodies last at least that long. That's why they're saying you won't necessarily have to quarantine after exposure within 3 months of you having COVID and meeting someone else that has it. But they don't quite know that yet. The first vaccines were given in March, and they are now going back and studying those people. And some of those people are getting booster shots. Some of those people they're just looking at to see their immune response, but it's not quite clear yet. They're prepared for the fact that we might have to give the booster, more so for the reason that the new variants might get out of control, is what I'm more so reading in studies.
So is the FDA working simultaneously, or researchers working simultaneously on this booster in conjunction with getting the rest of the population vaccinated?
They are. NIH and other divisions are doing trials on the boosters right now.
Awesome. Let me see what else is in the chat. I want to give you a chance to finish up what you want to share, because it's just incredibly informative. I am one of those people who received both doses. I'm fine. Okay, that's not a question. Why is mRNA only in COVID vaccines and not others? Can you explain what mRNA does, and are there possible risks?
So the mRNA vaccine technology was being developed for a long time, but these are the first vaccines that were ready for prime time to go. And so there have been lots of trials for mRNA vaccines or the mRNA technology for cancer treatments as well. And that's where a lot of the work was being done. So this just happens to be the first using that technology. The second half of that question was about how does mRNA work?
Can you explain what it does, and are there possible risks?
Yeah, so the mRNA, your body, this code of life, kind of as you think of it, our DNA. DNA is a fragment that has all your genes, and then it is translated into mRNA. And the mRNA is basically the kind of transporter, it's the intermediary that goes from the DNA to when your body can make the proteins. And the proteins are the real building blocks of life, like what you're seeing of when you're looking at your skin, and like it's proteins and fats and those type of molecules. And that's what your mRNA makes instructions on how to build. So the mRNA provides those instructions. The mRNA only lasts for about a couple of hours in your body. So it cannot go into your DNA. It can't stay in your DNA. It does not modify your DNA. So like very low risk in terms of the effects that it can have on you, because it does degrade very quickly. It's not a live virus, so it's not going to attack your cells. It's not going to cause your immune system to go out of whack like a live, maybe weakened virus that is used as a vaccine can do.
And one last question before I let you go back. Are you aware of any research that might suggest that a person's blood type may have a natural immunity to the COVID virus?
So there was a study that came out yesterday or Monday, not sure exactly what journal it was, but actually showing that there is no protection or more likelihood of giving COVID based on your blood type.
Gotcha. Good. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. Okay, please go ahead. Give you the mic.
Yeah. So I think, essentially, like I was mentioning, we can expect to have a COVID vaccine for children authorized by the FDA by the end of the summer is our hope. In terms of whether you're deciding to get the vaccine or not, I just want people to remember that the vaccine is 100% effective in preventing death from the virus. That's what you really want. 85 to 95% effective in preventing serious illness, which is also very great. A lot of times you might think, well, even if I get COVID, I should be fine, I should survive. But more and more people we're now seeing are developing these long-term effects of COVID that might be chronic diseases for years and years to come. You might be short of breath. Some people have what very commonly described brain fog. Other reports are saying that people have a higher risk of stroke and everything in the future. In children, there's the multi-inflammatory syndrome in children, which happens a few months after a kid has had COVID. And a lot of times the kids don't have any symptoms, but then they get very, very sick, like, they might have vomiting, diarrhea, pain in their stomach, rashes, bloodshot eyes, and it's just their immune system going haywire. And those children, there have been some, kids that have died from that delayed syndrome from COVID. So, I wouldn't bank on getting COVID and surviving and being 100% okay. Like you might have those really long-term side effects. And we also think about herd immunity. People say, well, they just said about 80% of the population needs to get it. So I'll be in that 20 that doesn't need to get it. But those 80% of the people will be 100% protected against dying from COVID. They can still, we can maybe still pass COVID on to you. If we get it, we're more likely to be asymptomatic. And then you can get it and have the full range of infection. So, you really have to take the vaccine to get that 100% guarantee for yourself. It's sort of like studying in a class. I can be in a class with really smart kids, and it's more likely that I'll do better just because of the momentum, the energy, the excitement. But if I don't study, I'm going to fail that test. I'll get a perfect 0 if I don't do any studying, very likely, as opposed to the people that study really, really hard for the test. So you have to do it for yourself. Although more and more people getting it does help other people. So if you're an adult, right now kids can't get it. If you get it, you're less likely, if you get the vaccine, you're less likely to get a really bad infection, less likely to kind of spread it. So you can and that way we're thinking you're protecting other people that can't get it yet, like your children or other people for whatever reason, if they absolutely cannot get the vaccine. But at this point, there is no absolute contraindication against the vaccine except being allergic to it or the ingredients. The last thing I just want to mention, I know that there are the speakers right after me are talking about mental health a little bit more, but I think, just circling back to what I was saying, when we all probably left our homes, schools and work to retreat into our houses a year ago, we thought this would be, at least I did, a few weeks, a month or two at the most, but we're still here. So it's about getting into a new normal. But I think it's very important to be deliberate about what you're doing even now. I think we all have new routines, but if you're still feeling disconnected from people, it's very important to be intentional about trying to meet up for people. But more so, we're having a phenomenon of Zoom fatigue where we're too connected, and it's important that we also remember to take time off. We can attend a lot more things miraculously with the technology because you don't have to travel anywhere. But I challenge people to choose, an evening a week this is my time that I'm definitely not doing any meetings, not logging onto things, even if I'm available. And even a day on the weekend that you can do that, regularly, especially for when your life opens up. But that was something I was very deliberate about doing. And I think it's important to allow you to center on yourself, but also with for the children, for the students, for the parents, have time to connect with each other or have time just alone for yourself. Just be very deliberate about that. But also for the other times, be deliberate about trying to meet up with people, whether it's once a month, every couple of months, once a week, just trying to foster those connections and keep up with various traditions.
Great. Thank you so much. One thing I will say, and somebody said it in the chat, which I think sums it up very well. Getting COVID is certainly more harmful than getting the vaccination.
Yeah, I'll just say, the last thing I'll just say is that the reason why a lot of us are here today, children don't die, by the time that they're 2 years old, is because of the advances of science and having vaccination. Kids get about 30, 35 vaccine shots by the time they're 10 years old. Yeah, a lot of us don't remember that. Kids won't remember it. A lot of us adults don't remember it. But that's why you're going to the doctor every couple of weeks to get shots. So we're all used to getting the vaccines, and to be in public schools, a lot of them require that you get these. So I know this is new. I do recognize the skepticism. I was just a little bit wary myself, like, how is this happening so fast? But once I understood what was happening, and once I understood, look, the risk of me getting COVID and dying or passing it on to someone or having to live for another 50 years or so with long-term consequences of it, I said I'd rather take my chances on the vaccine, which for all the theory and evidence and research for decades has shown to be safe.
Thank you so much for that. I know there are a bunch of questions that we did not get to in the interest of time, and we will certainly try to do the research and get to some of those questions, but I do want to be fair to the other panelists. So there are very likely to be other questions as well. But Dr. Smalls-Manty, I thank you so much for an extremely informative session. I've heard you before, so I'm very glad that you were able to join us today.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Ms. Jones, back to you.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Thank you again, Dr. Smalls-Manty. That was very powerful. Thank you. And so we have another giveaway. So let's see what we have here. We're going to move on to our literacy and movement basket. So anyone who would like to win this, hopefully will be able to give this to a child who can learn how to read and also enjoy some movement as well. And so the lucky winner of this cute little basket here is Vivian Rousseau. Congratulations to you. It's adorable. The little Elmo music and some games, so students can learn there.
Hold it up, Ms. Jones, so we can see it.
Sorry. Here you go.
Yeah, awesome.
Okay.
Good job. I got to get a shout out to our parent liaisons. They are some extraordinary people.
I wanted to show you the spa basket. The winner of that is, look at this one right here.
Wow.
Unbelievable. And
That's
we have one
amazing.
more. We have one more after this. So thank you again, parent liaison Sandra. And I'm sorry, her name is escaping me for the moment. And
Rita.
Rita James. I'm sorry. That's what happens when you hit 50 plus. Okay. Anyway, moving right along. Everyone's texting me her name. Thank you for looking out. Okay. In any event, that was great. So we have that basket. Please make sure that you give our parent liaison a call at 665-5032, and she will make arrangements for you to pick it up. So coming up next, we now have two mental health experts who are going to talk about the impact, as we spoke about, that it's been having on all of us. And we definitely need to check in as far as our mental health is concerned and our well-being. And so we're so delighted to have two wonderful people here. Michael Orth is the Commissioner of Westchester County's Department of Community Mental Health. Michael has worked in the human services sector for over 32 years. He serves as the Chief Executive Officer at the Department of Community Mental Health, which is responsible for planning, oversight, education, and coordinating services and supports for individuals and their families with mental illness, developmental or intellectual disabilities, or substance abuse. In 2020, Michael was appointed by Governor Cuomo to serve as the New York State Behavioral Health Services Advisory Council, and has previously held several positions in children's health. Michael is presenting along with Ms. Michelle Landry of the Children's Mental Health Services of Westchester. Michelle Landry is an experienced licensed master social worker dedicated to helping children with serious mental health challenges. Currently, Michelle leads several of the Westchester County community networks, which are dedicated to providing spaces for providers and families to come together to discuss the challenges, trends, and successes of students. She also co-presents in training related to Westchester County's system of care and mental health challenges during COVID. So without further ado, I will move on to this part of the panel discussion on mental awareness with Mr. Michael Orth and Ms. Michelle Landry at this time.
Thank you so much. And we do have a PowerPoint presentation that we'll be putting up. That was a very nice introduction. And basically, I also want to share, I began my career in Mount Vernon in the late 80s. So I'm appreciative of the school district, the community, and have ties going back to Mount Vernon. And we're so happy to be with all of you for this really important forum. I want to thank the Superintendent Hamilton, Dr. Bennett Conroy, and the team for inviting us. And as stated, my colleague Michelle and I represent the Department of Community Mental Health, and we're fortunate to work with all school districts in Westchester County and our communities as well. We want to spend a few minutes talking about the importance of mental health and also specifically the impact COVID has had on all of our mental health from an individual, family, and community perspective. So Michelle, if you can put up the slides, we can get started.
Working on it.
Here we go. There we go. And Michelle, would you like to introduce yourself as well?
Sure. Good afternoon. I'm Michelle Landry. I'm actually a Mount Vernon School District alum. So it's nice to see you guys and to be here. It's always nice coming home.
Thank you. If we can go to the next slide. Today is about our health, right? It's about physical and mental health and the two combined. And the World Health Organization once said, without mental health, there can be no true physical health. And you also see that our former Surgeon General said that if this is really a public health issue, we have to provide education, awareness, prevention, and treatment. All of us have to provide those services and really build awareness around mental health. Yet, as a society, why are we so uncomfortable talking about how we feel, our moods, yet we have no problem talking about our body aches? And we're comfortable going to a doctor with a sprained ankle or a bad cold, yet when we're anxious or feeling depressed, it's so difficult for us to ask for help. Fortunately, we've had many celebrities, including Brandon Marshall, Jay-Z, Lady Gaga, Demi Lovato, and many others who have started putting vocabulary to mental health, talking about some of their experiences. And if we get across anything today, it's the importance of us all modeling and talking as parents, as teachers, as coaches, as clergy, to be able to talk about our mental health and open the door for others to share as well. Next, Michelle. So we're going to get into the pandemic, but even before COVID, we really were experiencing a mental health crisis as a society. And these are just some general numbers. The reality is that most people, whether you're children or adults, at some point in our lifetime, we struggle with bouts of mental health issues, whether it's anxiety, whether it's depression, or it's other issues. And as you can see, 1 out of 5 children between the ages of 13 and 18 have a mental health issue with a diagnosis that really impacts their behavior. What's interesting is that all mental health disorders begin before the age of 14. So what does that mean? It means that there's help out there, that if we provide early intervention, if we talk about it, if we help young people feel comfortable about it, there is treatment out there. So one of our goals today in our work that we do is really to allow for the conversation, recognize that early treatment can lead to much better outcomes. There's also a big issue of co-occurring disorders, that mental health and substance use. And many people who struggle with mental health issues also self-medicate. And also people who are primarily struggling with substance abuse, over time, it'll lead to depression, anxiety, or other mental health disorders. So we really want to treat the entire person and recognizing that many people struggle with co-occurring issues. Michelle?
So one of the things that at the county we are really focused on is being culturally confident. And we felt like we'd be remiss if we really didn't identify and really talk about the fact that, you know, the COVID pandemic has revealed some of those covert inequities that have gone on for a long time, right, in communities of color. And we've seen this kind of amplify social and economic factors related to people of color and really contribute to poor health outcomes as well as supportive outcomes, right? Or support in terms of those outcomes. So one of the things that we know is that, you know, when people have a higher rate of underlying health conditions, you are, you know, at an increased rate for a serious illness. And so we do know, and one of the things that have been talked about ongoing is that people with underlying health conditions seem to have struggled with COVID more than anyone else and also have kind of lost the battle to COVID. So we want to be clear that we're aware of that, and we want people to be aware of that because it's important to know, right? The other thing that's really important to discuss is when we know that people of color live in you know, poverty, and that's one of the struggles for communities of color, being uninsured or underinsured really is a challenge. Access to doctors, access to health providers really is a struggle, and being underinsured or uninsured can create even more of a barrier when we're looking at getting the support and the help that you need. People in communities of color also work in service industries. So, you know, these were the industries that ended up closing. These were the restaurants, these were the movie theaters. These were the things where people were not allowed to go, but people work there. And so when you lose income, you also, you know, gain a higher risk for challenges as well. Housing situations, right? People living in multi-generational homes, low income public housing, right? They had struggles as it relates to social distancing or self-isolating. So people were maybe, you know, living in smaller homes, more people. How are you able to isolate? How are you able to actually quarantine? And so the risk for people being exposed to COVID became even higher due to that. And not just housing, but the fact that we're using public transportation and or people who live in certain communities with social economic factors that are struggles tend to have to work jobs where telehealth or teleworking was not an option, right? Many people are going into their jobs on a daily basis, while some of us were able to work from home and we didn't have to overly expose ourselves. And then one of the things that I'm always really talking about, and we speak a lot about this in our Mount Vernon network, was just the barrier that technology and internet access brought to the community, and that learning and education became a real challenge for kids of color because they didn't have the same access to devices and or internet service as maybe other kids. So, these are some of the real impacts of COVID as it relates to how it impacted people of color. So we felt like we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about these pieces.
Thank you, Michelle. And from a public health perspective, we look at sort of the ripple effect of COVID-19. And in terms of our planning, we look at the virus itself, how it was uncertain in terms of the impact. At many months ago, there wasn't a vaccine. We had, unfortunately, many fatalities. So that's the first ripple. The second ripple, as Michelle talked about, was food insecurities, the financial hardships, the stress, the isolation, remote working or remote learning. And then what we're seeing now from a mental health perspective is the final ripple is really seeing the impact it's had on our residents' mental health issues. So whether you had pre-existing mental health issues or you were experiencing anxiety, depression, isolation for the first time, we're really studying the impact that all those different effects have had on our mental health issues. The other thing worth noting, we're looking at some of our data. In Westchester alone, we've had over 280 children lose a parent or caretaker due to COVID. And when you think about the trauma that impacts, also the financial, all these other ramifications it has from a mental health perspective is crucial. Now, we're all kind of in line here when we talked and when our mindfulness instructor and yoga instructor talked about what we call the 3 pillars of trauma-informed care. Whenever we're experiencing anything that's stressful or traumatic, what we really want to do is build in these 3 pillars. We want to help all of us, and this just isn't if you have a pre-existing mental health issue. We want to feel connected. We want to feel connected to our family, to fellow human beings, to what's important to us. We want to feel a sense of safety, especially during such a difficult time of so much uncertainty. And then we all want to experience the ability to self-regulate. And it doesn't necessarily have to be traditional mental health services. It can be through religion and faith and friends and exercise, could be therapy and mindfulness. So it's important that as parents, as schools, as communities, as public health systems, that our overarching goal is to help young people and our fellow residents achieve all of these 3 pillars of trauma-informed care. And there's so many ways that we can achieve this, and we'll talk about them a little bit later.
So when we think about risk factors and protective factors, those, again, existed long before COVID, right? But again, the idea and of the pandemic is that it really exacerbated some of these risk factors. So what we do know is that seasonal changes can impact kids. And when we say seasonal changes, we're literally just talking about the amount of sun maybe someone experienced before versus now. Being able to go outside and play, being able to engage with others outside in the sun versus in the winter when the sun goes down earlier. So you're in the house more or there's snow and you're not able to be outside as long. So those seasonal changes impact mood. We also know that ongoing stress and anxiety are real significant risk factors. I know there's oftentimes we think kids are not stressed by anything. They're kids, they don't have to pay any bills, but they certainly are very intuitive to a family being stressed. And so they do take some of that on, but kids do have really difficult lives going on. If you can think about when you were younger, the things that bothered you, the things that overwhelmed you, kids are still going through those things. And so bullying and trying to figure out what it means to be popular or to socialize appropriately with people, those things stress kids. And so continuously are risk factors. Michael alluded to trauma, the trauma that people experience. And so what we know is that the more experiences of trauma someone has, the more likely they are to have risk factors or be at risk for having mental health or mental health stressors. And lastly, I just want to talk about genetics. Sometimes we laugh like, oh, you're like your mom or you're like your dad, whatever it may be, but there are real chemical things that do play into people being stressed or being more at risk for mental illness. And some of the protective factors, this is my happier side, are, those things that we look at that really make us feel better. So healthy practices, doing, things that make you feel positive, feeling close to at least one adult. This has been so important to share with people because kids who do better have at least one positive relationship with an adult. And so I think if possible, it's always really important to encourage kids to find one person they trust and to engage with them. And I always think it's really special if you end up being that person for a youngster. Having a social support system, if you have friends, if you have extended family that you can engage with, and that's both for children and for adults. And then, Michael talked about spirituality. I know that lots of people are attending church regularly, going to their pastors. It's a place where you feel safe, where you feel comforted, where you feel understood, and also, you feel like you are able to get some answers. So certainly spirituality is always a protective factor for people who really use it and feel close to it. But I think most importantly, when we're talking about kids, regular school attendance. And, I think Dr. Hamilton alluded to this before, this is unprecedented times. No one knew that we'd be going through this for so long. But we do know that the more kids attend school, that the better that they do. And so I'm really excited about the fact that schools and school districts have been working towards getting kids back in more often. So I'm really, really happy about that.
Michelle, if I may, if you can go back to that slide, because there's something important, especially during COVID. Michelle had put in there something called under trauma ACEs. And ACEs stands for Adverse Childhood Experiences. And what that is, there was a study of health insurance claims from many, many years ago. We're talking thousands of medical claims for adults with serious health issues like diabetes, other type of heart conditions. And after a further exploration, they recognized that a majority of these individuals with serious health issues had early traumatic childhood experiences. Maybe they grew up with a parent of an alcoholic or witnessed abuse. And there's a correlation. That's how I started the presentation. Without mental health, there can be no true physical health. So the good news is that if we identify some of these adverse childhood experiences, there's many protective factors that we can build in so people can be successful, not only their physical health, but also their mental health. So the 2 and 2 are always combined when we think of general health. So I just wanted to share that.
Thank you.
So if I may jump in, first of all, thank you both for being here. It's good to see you again. I am just so proud of the services that are available here. One of the things that I think we are challenged by as a school, as a community of educators is there is, as you know, a stigma associated with seeking support, mental health support, particularly in communities of Black and brown babies. What can we do as educators to help our students and our parents understand the benefit of seeking support services from therapists and clinicians?
That's a good question. And I think it starts with, as Michelle said, we also as a service system need to have racially, culturally, linguistically competent services as well. And one of the things that we look in for example, the Mount Vernon community, we're trying to look at mental health, not just as a treatment issue, but also looking at it from a universal type of intervention. So I'm proud to know that Mount Vernon Schools does a lot of work around positive behavioral intervention supports that really addresses emotional wellness for all students. Every student, we're going to look at what expected positive behaviors, how to support their emotional wellness. We do have young people who do need additional supports. So how do we open that conversation? And it's sometimes difficult for parents to engage young people. How do we support our coaches? How do we support our faith-based leaders to step in line with us as we talk about mental health and mental wellness? One of the things the county is doing is we've engaged in a program called Soul Shop. We have over 100 faith-based leaders from all denominations working with us on using mental health vocabulary in their sermons when they preach, so that it's not this taboo issue. There's not a sense of not wanting to talk about mental health. So if we are all modeling this behavior and allowing young people to talk about feelings, I think that really helps us moving forward. But in reality, some of our practices have not always been racially, culturally competent from a workforce issue and from a practice perspective.
And I just want to add to that, one of the things that I found to be really helpful is to have peers, right? One of the things that Mount Vernon is kind of lucky to have is that within Mount Vernon, you have Family Ties, which is a peer-driven program where there are other parents who've had the experience of needing mental health support for their children. And what I know, and what we all know, is that when we have a stressor in our life, we go to our friends or we go to someone who may already know or have that experience, right? It's really hard to talk to a provider who you feel does not understand where you're coming from. So I certainly found that using peers to engage families or children, because we also have youth peers, is a really helpful way of getting people to understand and also for them to model how important it is to really take care of yourself. And I think it's also, like Michael's been saying, we want to be holistic and get away from this is about your mental health, but this is about your whole well-being.
So there's, our teachers are people too, right? So our teachers, they have lives outside of work. They have families, they have children. Some have financial issues. Some are taking care of aging parents, and but yet we want them to show up to work every day and put their best foot forward. How can we better support our teachers who are real people experiencing real situations and don't always have the luxury of being able to take the time to address their own wellness? And the process, frankly, is sometimes discouraging because finding the appropriate services or therapists can be a daunting process, because it's not just pick up a phone and find a therapist. You got to find someone who's relatable, someone you feel comfortable with, someone who you can trust. How can we streamline that process for our teachers and remove barriers to help them access services as well?
Dr. Hamilton, that's really a good point. And, a couple of things that come to mind. One is obviously we hope that they're practicing those 3 pillars of trauma-informed care and using mindfulness, using spirituality, exercising. The reality, as you indicated, is true. Most access to services, whether it's physical or mental health, is dependent on insurance. And about 10 years ago, through the federal government, there was a Parity Act that basically mandated insurance companies to give the same type of services as you would for physical health as they would in mental health. Unfortunately, that's not the case, and it has been not what it was intended to be, the law. We just recently did a study of commercial insurance plans in Westchester County, and we were looking at finding a therapist of color for some of the members. In one plan, they only had 2 therapists that were individuals of color. So when you talk about the lack of choice, the lack of access, the lack of services, even for those who are insured, there's clearly a real serious gap. The one thing I do want to add is that as with science, there are different evidence-based treatment approaches that are successful. It's not like you sit on a couch for the rest of your life and talk to a therapist. There's things like cognitive behavioral interventions, especially if you have anxiety or other type of issues. There's dialectic behavioral therapy. There's various forms of treatments that are proven very effective, sometimes with medication, sometimes without medication. So we want folks to know that there are options out there. There are many agencies within Westchester where you can get some of those evidence-based practices. But unfortunately, it goes back to, if we truly value mental health, we have to have equitable access to services as well.
Yeah. And just thinking about the things you guys can do, one of the things we did here at DCMH is that we made space for what's called POW, Power of Worker Wellness Wednesdays. And so we were able to really, during the height of COVID, really sit together as a team and engage and talk about some of the stressors, have speakers, have people dance for us, have yoga. So, I think it's also about what do you as a school district offer to give space and give, some sort of a break. And then also here we created a respite room. So there was light music, there was gentle smells, there were dim lit lights. So I think it's, when you can, offering spaces to really allow for people to decompress.
And how can our teachers recognize, how can you self-diagnose depression and anxiety and problems coping? Of course, everybody has a continuum in terms of what they can bear, and some people are multitaskers, and don't always take the time to self-reflect and self-analyze, which is why I think it was great we started the session with yoga. What tools can you share with us that will help people self-diagnose? And I don't mean diagnose in terms of coming up with a condition per se, but to be able to reflect on, maybe I've got too many balls in the air at one time. Maybe my need to get home and go to bed right after work is a sign, or maybe I'm making choices that are reflective of some other kind of underlying circumstances that I need to address. What can we do? What can we offer our staff to help them self-diagnose?
That's a really good question, Superintendent Hamilton. And I think, first of all, especially during COVID, we have to allow ourselves permission to sometimes feel a little bit down, a little bit depressed. We have very good reason. This has been a difficult year. And normally throughout our lifespan, we go through highs and lows. We may experience anxiety. I think the key thing is that if you stop doing those things that make you feel good, whether it's going to church, whether it's exercising, and you have trouble with your day-to-day routine, you can no longer get up in the morning, you struggle focusing for an extended period of time, or if you're a student, you're no longer doing your homework, or you may be using substances or alcohol to cope. When it really impacts your day-to-day functioning, it's clearly time to ask for help. And approaching your parents, approaching your supervisor, or seeking help is critical. So again, especially during this period of time, give yourself a little permission, but when it becomes so difficult that you can't do those really important things that you do, or it impacts your relationships, it's definitely worth seeking treatment.
Thank you so much for that.
Michelle, if you want to just quickly, we'll go through some of the slides because we do want to get into some resources and services as well.
No, absolutely. So, just quickly, when we encourage people to talk about COVID, we think it's really important to be honest and accurate. So it was actually really nice to go after Dr. Smalls Nancy, because he was very precise and accurate. And so, we tell people, think about asking kids, what do they know? What do they think? What do they feel? Because you want to be able to really speak to that. You don't want to assume. You want to explain simple health and safety steps. You don't want to be overly intricate in the information that you're giving. You want to ensure that the information that you're giving is correct, but you also want to correct misinformation that kids are receiving. You want to answer truthfully. If you don't know something, please tell the kids you don't know that. But you also want to make sure that you're not falsifying information. And lastly, you want to make sure that you encourage them to share thoughts and ask questions, and not to really hold it inside. Effective communication with youth. Again, we talked about staying genuine and being respectful. So again, it's that being open and honest, but also you want to be comfortable in silence. I think sometimes we think we have to fill a room with information and discussion, but sometimes kids just want you to sit with them. And so that sometimes is way more powerful than just talking to kids. And so we want to be mindful what the youth needs from us at that point. You also want to be aware of your own body language and your facial expressions. You want to know if you're sitting too close to them or too far away from them, and kids will be able to give you that through their own body language and facial expressions as well. You want to have realistic expectations for the conversation. You don't want kids to, maybe you don't want to assume that kids understand everything, and you also don't want to assume they don't understand anything, right? You want to make sure that you give the young person hope. And I think at this time, any of us really could use hope. And I think that's some of what you were asking about. How do you help the teachers? I think it's also giving them hope as well. And then provide practical help and information. Some other ways that you can help, and this is, for the kids, but also for yourself, is sticking to a routine. So one of the things Michael just shared is when we're talking about how does someone know that they're not feeling well, when you're not able to do your normal schedule, right? It's really important to have a routine, even though, yes, we're getting up and we're waking up at home and we're working from home many days, but you still want to kind of sit in a different room. You don't want to do everything in one space. You want to set a routine for yourself. It's really helpful to kind of distinguish. You want to make sure that you're encouraging and modeling healthy coping skills for kids. While I think it's really important to do that, You also want to be really realistic. If you're really having a hard day, it's okay to tell people you're having a hard day. COVID is something that we're all going through. And I think, it's really important to be transparent. I think emphasizing your consistent support and commitment to the child's well-being is really helpful when we're talking about ways to support them. Normalizing and validating their thoughts and feelings. Normalizing and validating doesn't mean telling them they're correct, but you want to make sure that they know that you heard them, because it's really important for kids to feel listened to. Empowering them by giving them a sense of control, and then being familiar with available resources. And most importantly, and this is kind of what you were alluding to, Dr. Hamilton, was really the practice of your own self-care, because we're really not going to be able to help someone else if we don't help ourselves. That whole, if you're on the plane and the oxygen drops down, make sure you put yours on before you put someone else's on.
Yeah, and I also want to be mindful, we have about 5 minutes, so we're going to just kind of move forward. The next slide really highlights again self-care. And just like we talk about nutrition, exercise, it's also important that we take care of our mental health just as well. And our next slide we really touched on is really focusing on services and supports. And mental health is all of these things. It's being mindful, it's nutrition, sleep, it's our social interactions, and there's also treatment. There's effective treatment, just like with any other physical health issue that's out there, that's evidence-based, please feel free to reach out with us. I did put our contact information in the chat box as well. Two of the services we want to finish off with before we get any questions. We have, because of COVID-19, there's an initiative in the federal government called Project Hope. And because of the impact it's had on Westchester, we have these wonderful, what we call crisis counselors available throughout our communities. And one of them is very local. The Mount Vernon Neighborhood Health Center is providing free crisis counseling, helping people get concrete services, doing some grief therapy, and connecting people to services. So I would encourage everyone to connect with the local Project Hope. It's a wonderful resource for people who need many different types of services as relates to mental health and COVID. And then one of the things that we're really excited to work with Mount Vernon is, Michelle, the next slide, is our mental health first aid initiative, which is really the CPR of mental health. So Michelle, do you want to talk a little bit about that? And we really hope to provide some of the supports to the Mount Vernon community.
Yeah, so I do want to share, I think there have been some training set up, whether it's with the police department or the school district, I'm not sure. But youth mental health first aid is really what it sounds like. It's really being able to just notice the signs, respond to the signs when you see a youth having a mental health illness or substance use disorder. And it's not that you needed to diagnose it, but just possible signs of it. It's really working with kids 6 to 18. It's a way for adults to really identify, how can I see that this kid needs help? How do I see that it's a crisis? How do I identify the problem? And how do I then connect them to some supports and services? The curriculum is really about learning common signs and symptoms of anxiety, depression, eating disorders, ADHD, substance use, also some of those risk factors and protective factors that we talked about before. Also typical versus atypical adolescent development, right? Sometimes we think kids are really out of control or really being bad. And, some of it is like, they're 10, they're 12, they're 5, whatever it might be, what is typical versus what's not. Also really learning about the warning signs of suicidal thoughts and behaviors and non-suicidal self-injury and other harm. That's really important. You want to make sure you're paying attention. If a kid is wearing a sweater in 75 or 85 degree weather, you want to pay attention to why are they so covered up. The 5 steps of algae, the action plan, that's really the 5 steps that you'll learn of how to address this crisis in that moment. Also, you learn about how to interact with the child and adolescents in their crisis to help them connect to help. And then they've expanded it so that it now includes, trauma support, addiction and self-care, and an impact of social media and bullying, which is very huge.
And I see Dr. Hamilton has his hand up. So whenever the superintendent has his hand up, we pause. I just want to add that when people take CPR, fortunately, you may use it once, maybe twice throughout your entire lifetime. But when you're trained in mental health first aid, you will use it almost on a daily basis. You will use it with family, friends, colleagues, young people that you interact with. These are lifelong skills that are so imperative. And finally, our last slide is we are doing a training on May 6th called, it's the Ripple Effect. We're going to have the author of The Ripple Effect, the Impact of COVID-19 on New York State's Children. All are welcome to attend, and we'll make sure to send out the invite. And just want to thank you for your time, your interest, and just promoting mental wellness for our communities.
Absolutely. And I just want to end by saying, you know, one of the things they talked about in self-care was self-compassion. And I think this is kind of what you were alluding to before, is that, you know, it's okay to not be okay, you know, and we don't want to think that we have to have the answers and that we're going to be 100% of the time. It's okay to give yourself space to have some difficult moments. And that is one of the biggest parts of wellness and taking care of yourself. So I just want to make sure that I encourage people to really reach out and really understand that no one's expecting you to be 100% every day, all the time.
I'm so glad you said that. That's the perfect segue into what I wanted to jump in, and that is really normalizing feeling unusual, normalizing feeling that you're not quite yourself, and making it safe and okay for people to do that. I want to refer folks to the chat. Michael put 2 sources in there that I really want to make sure folks that are on our Zoom today have access to, and that is mentalhealth.westchestergov.com for a list of mental health services, and of course, the emotional wellness line, which is the 995-1900 number. I really want to encourage our staff members to be okay with not being okay, and seek support, seek help. We are really living in some very, very difficult times. So many people have been impacted by COVID, either personally or indirectly. And we get in a routine of just kind of taking things in stride and dealing with crises and going on with our lives like it's okay. And sometimes just having someone to talk to is really a vital resource that you can do to make yourself well. Someone put in the chat room how important it is to take some me time. I actually did that over the break. It's something that I absolutely never do, just disconnect and take a break. There was one day during the break, I literally did not leave my house, which is so unusual for me. But I felt so refreshed and liberating being able to do that. So I really want to encourage people to understand how important it is to take some time to be okay. And if you're not, take some time to acknowledge that you're not.
Exactly.
Yeah, thank you all so much for this incredible resource today.
Yes, thank you so much once again, everyone. And we ask that you please not go anywhere because we're going to end this really powerful session. This was so highly informative and engaging, and I'm just so honored that I was even a part of this discussion today. But we have some final giveaways, so don't go anywhere. So we know that we're in tune to our own mental health and well-being, and of course, we want to do that for our babies too. So we have 6 Fortnite gift cards. Boy, if my son heard this, he'd be jealous. So we're going to give those away to parents, and you are going to give those. You better give those to your kids now. I know you're going to want to play them yourself, but in any event, we're going to call some names. And again, please call Sandra O'Connor at 665-5032 to pick them up. So the first one goes to Alistair Vanderpool, Nicole Campbell, Pierre Dubasson, I hope I'm saying it correctly, Mary Favor, Danielle Kennedy Finley, and Maria Darling Lopez. You have all won a gift card for Fortnite, and we hope you get those to your nieces, nephews, kids, whatever you'd like to do with them. And we have, unfortunately, not enough time. We have a wonderful presenter here, Natasha Smith, who is going to do a cooking presentation, Miss Sweetie, New York, but we are short on time. So we are going to post your YouTube channel. During COVID, she made the best of it. She and her daughters decided to start cooking healthy. It's been a passion of hers since she was 9 years old. And so they said, hey, we have a lot of time on our hands during quarantine. Let's get healthy and let's do this cooking channel. So she was going to, we were going to show you some of her wonderful, healthy recipes. But because of time, we are going to post that. I hope you don't mind, Natasha Smith. We're so sorry about that. But we are thankful that you were able to volunteer today. And you can say a few words quickly.
Thank you.
Hi guys, I'm Sweetie Love New York from Sweetie Love Kitchen,
Oh,
and I'm just
hey.
happy part of it. Hi, Dr. Hamilton. How are you? Hi,
Good,
everyone.
good to see you.
With COVID, we were home. The girls were half school. I was home with them, and I always wanted to start a YouTube channel. And I love to cook. I'm cooking from like 9 years old. I grew up in Jamaica. So my girl said, Mommy, let's make a YouTube channel. I was like, are you sure? And I said, the only way I would do the YouTube channel if you guys help. So my youngest daughter, she do the video. The oldest one, she do the editing and all the background stuff. And I'm the one that cook. So there you have Sweetie Love New York. So
Wonderful.
I hope you do.
Throw that in the chat, Natasha, and whatever you cooked for today, feel free to send it right over to my office. I'm perfectly okay with that.
I will. Thank you guys. Thank
The
you.
last giveaway for today, this is a really beautiful cooking basket. Okay, and it has some great healthy stuff. I was so hungry, I was about to bust it open during this, but I did not. I didn't open it up. This is gonna go to a lucky winner. And it's ironic. Her name is Liza Prylucky. Liza Prylucky. I don't know where you are. I think I saw you on the chat, actually. You have won this lovely Stay Healthy basket with some goodies and some appliances for cooking. So we thank each and every one of you here today for coming out. Again, I've been honored to do this and be a part of this wonderful health initiative and mental health awareness initiative that the district has launched. And at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Waveling Bennett Conroy to give us some closing remarks.
So before I hand over to Dr. Hamilton to do the real closing, I would just like to thank everyone for participating in today's event. And I would like to thank the special people such as Dr. Hamilton himself, our superintendent, Dr. Smalls Mante, Commissioner Michael Orr, Miss Michelle Landry, Miss Freed, Miss Smith, our Principal Jones, our parent liaison, especially Mr. O'Connor and Miss James, and also my OSI team. I could not do this without them. And I have to say that even though it was a pleasure doing this, it's just that I know Dr. Hamilton is thinking up of another event to come and say, okay, let's do another event. But you know, I like to do events. So I want to thank each and every one of you for coming out to make this happen, because I know the parents in the community are suffering as well as our kids, and well as our teachers as well and staff. And we want to give them the best support as much as possible. So with that being said, special thanks to each and every one of you, and kudos to everyone. And I'm going to hand over to Dr. Hamilton for him to do the official closing.
Well, again, I just want to reiterate, thanks to the same team that Dr. BC just acknowledged, and to all of our staff members. I hope you found this a worthwhile use of your afternoon, and that you walked away with something that you can incorporate into your life that makes you better at who you are, and makes you better at serving our children, but most importantly, at serving our community, because our work is a lot bigger than just the students who walk through our doors. We are serving a community, because when we impact the lives of children, we impact an entire community. So I thank you all. Natasha, I am so sorry we didn't get to see your video. We are going to make sure we make that happen some way or another. And I also want to commend our, again, incredible parent liaisons who are such foot soldiers with making things happen. And so please grab the resources that are listed in the chat before you log out. Write some phone numbers down. Michelle just threw some resources back in the chat for you. Sweetie's information is in the chat as well. And we just want you to be better. That's all it is. It's about being better as a community, and knowledge is power. The more information you have, the more power you have. The more power you have, the better choices you can make that make you a better person. So be safe, be blessed, be well, and know that I am thinking about you and praying for you every day.
Hi everyone, welcome to Sweetie Love's Kitchen. Today we have a very special program for you. It's our first annual virtual health fair. I just want to take this time to thank Dr. Kenneth Hoare Almington to give me this opportunity to present to you our first annual virtual health fair. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to have our water. So as we all know, we have to make sure that we drink 8 ounces of water 8 times for the day. So instead of the plain water, I'm going to show you how you can infuse your water to make it much more flavorful for you and your kids and your family to enjoy. All right, so I'm going to show you how to infuse your water. So I just have a little water container, and here I have some strawberry, I have some blueberry, some lime, I have some peppermint, and I have some cucumber. So all you do, you just put them in the bottle. And then I'm going to use 2 8 ounces of water. And voila, there you have your infused water. It's refreshing and it tastes really good. I hope you enjoy it. Welcome back to our first virtual health fair. So today I'm going to show you, instead of having soda, I'm going to show you a substitute that you could have instead that you and your family would enjoy. So here we have some pineapple. We have some watermelon. Yummy. We have some lime. We have some papaya. Oops. We have some yummy pineapple, papaya. And we have some apple. So I'm going to juice all of this together to give you a juicy, yummy, all the adjectives you can think of to describe this juice. Okay, virtual family, so there you have it. Our juice is finished. So what we're going to do, remember earlier we had juiced the orange, so we're gonna pour this in it, and then I squeeze 3 lemon. So I'm gonna pour this, I'm gonna pour it in it. Ooh, yummy. And then I'm gonna pour half of the orange juice in it. Actually, I'm just gonna put as much as it can hold. And then I'm gonna give it I'm just gonna mix it a little. And I'm gonna try it and see how it tastes. Beautiful, yummy. So I'm gonna pour it in a container and I'll be right back. Okay, virtual family, there you have our watermelon medley. So refreshing, look at it. So I'm gonna use this and make some ice pop, so I'll be right back. All right, virtual family, I'm back again. So in the previous video, I show you that we make our natural juice. So with this natural juice, I'm gonna make some ice popsicle for you guys. So stick around for that video coming up shortly. So as I show you, I'm gonna use this to make our juicy icy. So as you can see, we have a holder here. We're just going to place it there, and we're just going to fill up our icy. So that's one. Just going to remove it, and we're just going to keep on filling it up, and I'll be right back. Okay, virtual family, there you have it, our refreshing ice popsicle the natural way. So we're going to put this in the freezer rather, for 3 to 4 hours, and get it all solid frozen, and then I present it for you. Stick around. Okay, virtual family, there you have it, our watermelon medley popsicle. Look at it. So I let it stay in the freezer for 3 to 4 hours, and then I take it out. Look at that. See all of that deliciousness? So this is a healthy way of letting your kids have an ice pop, the natural way, all fruits. Yummy. My kids love it. So I'm just going to give you a little spin, a little show. Beautiful. Okay, I'll be right back. All right, virtual family. So I have another quick and easy recipe for you. So as you can see, we have some Quaker salt-free rice cake, and it's 100% whole grain. So as you can see right here, it's just a regular rice cake. It's a substitute for bread and all that loaded carbs. So this is a great breakfast for your kids. Actually, it's a great breakfast for the entire family, and it's also a good snack. So I'm going to, with the rice cake, I'm going to make an avocado roast just to pep it up a notch or zhuzh it up a notch. So I'm going to make an avocado roast, and for time, I'm going to make it off camera, and I'll be right back. Okay, virtual family, there you have it. Our whole grain rice cake with avocado roast, and I just put a little of pepper and a little sea salt on it with some sesame seed. So you could do whatever you want to do to it, and make it personal, whatever you like on your avocado. And I'm going to make another one to show you have variety. So if you like egg, you could put eggs on it. If you have sausages, you could put sausages on it. Whatever you like. It's quick, it's easy, and it's healthy. I hope you enjoy it. All right, virtual family. So in the previous video, I showed you the rice cake with an avocado roast. In this video, I'm going to show you another way that you could have your rice cake with something yummy and delicious. So as you can see, I have another rice cake here. This is a whole grain rice cake, and this is the salt-free. I have some peanut butter. For those who are allergic to peanut butter, you could use whatever you want. And I have 1 organic ripe bananas. So I'm just going to go ahead and take some of the peanut butter. Virtual family. So this is another quick, easy rice cake recipe. So this one has some peanut butter and some organic ripe banana, and I just sprinkle some nutmeg and some cinnamon powder on it. As you can see, easy, quick, yummy, and delicious. I hope you enjoy it. Okay, virtual family. So here I have another presentation for you. I have some celery detox. So this is good when you want to detox your body. So I just have some ginger, some celery stick, and 1 lemon. So let's go ahead and blend it and show you how we get our celery juice. There you have it, virtual family. Our detox celery drink. Look at it. Beautiful. It's very healthy. And look at the color, beautiful. Let's give it a spin. Okay, stick around, there's more to come. Welcome back to our first virtual health fair. So on the menu today in Sweetie Love's Kitchen, I'm going to make some chicken tenders. And as you can see, I have several strips of chicken tenders. It's not tender yet. Of chicken strips. So we're going to prepare this in a air fryer. So over there we have a mixture of seasoned herbs and spices. And here I have some baking powder and some cornstarch. The reason for the cornstarch, because I'm not going to bread it with any flour. I'm not going to coat it with any flour, I'm not going to coat it with any flour or breadcrumbs. I'm going to use some cornstarch and some baking powder. So that will help to give it that crunchy, crispy texture. So I'm going to show you a way to make it that is so much easier. So right here I have a Ziploc bag. So what I'm going to do next, I'm going to put everything in a Ziploc bag. and I'll be right back and we'll continue. So now that we have our chicken strip, I just put it in a Ziploc bag. And as you can see, I just drizzled some olive oil. You could use whatever oil of your choice. So this is the easier way for me. Then I'm just going to open the bag out. And my mixture of seasoning, I'm just going to pour it in. Okay, there you have it. Look at it. Okay, so the next step, I'm going to set up my deep fryer, my hair fryer, correction. I'm going to set up my air fryer and I'll be right back. All right, so now we have our hair fryer ready. So if you don't have a hair fryer, you can always use one of those air fryer baskets or just a regular tray, and you could do it in the oven. Or if you're on the other side, if you want to fry it, then you go ahead and fry. But we're trying to do it the healthy way because, of course, we're doing healthy meals for this, our first virtual health week. So this is our hair fryer. So I went ahead and I just greased the bottom of it. So I'm just going to place it there. I'm going to get a fork. And I'm just going to take out my strips. So I set it for 370 degrees for 15 minutes. So when it's finished, I'll be right back. Okay, virtual family. So let's go and check on our chicken tenders. Oh my goodness, look at it. And remember, this is not deep fry. Oh my goodness, look at it. Whoa. Look at it. All right, so I'm going to finish up the rest and I'll be right back. Okay, virtual family, there you have it. Our hair fried chicken strips. Look at it. Yummy. Wow. And as you can see, I just paired it with some ketchup. If you want, you could use whatever sauce you want on the side. But look at it. Beautiful. I'm going to go ahead and try one. Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh, it is so good. So there you have it. Take a spin. And remember, this is the air fry. I did not use any oil. I just greased the bottom of the air fryer, and I just put some baking powder and some cornstarch on it, and a mixture of herbs and spices, and there you go. Voila! Enjoy! Welcome back, virtual family. So our next recipe is a substitute for French fry. So as you can see, we have some yellow potato, and I just cut them in small wedges. So instead of you fry them in oil, I'm going to air fry them. So this is what I use to get this design shape. It's just a fancy little cutting tool. So I'm going to show you how I arrive by these wedges. So first, I'm just going to place my thingy here, and I'm just going to do it like that. Voila. And then I'm going to cut it in another pieces. Be careful, don't cut your hands now because it's very sharp. And then I just cut it in small wedges. There you go. So as you can see, so you can make it a little bit thinner. Just turn it to the other side, and you do like that. So that's basically how we arrive with our wedges. So there you have it. Oh, this one is cut, of course. So there you have it. Nice little wedges. So I'm not going to put anything on it. If you want, you could sprinkle some olive oil on it, and then after it's finished fry in the air fryer, then you could put whatever seasoning and spices you want. But for this video, I'm just going to put it in the air fryer, and I'll show you how I arrive with our air fry French fries. So now that we have our air fryer ready, all I did was I greased the bottom of our air fryer, and I'm just going to place our fries, our potato wedges, because it's not fries yet, and I will just place it in there, and I'll be back. So now that we have all of our potato wedge into the air fryer, I'm going to put it in. I'm going to set it for 370 for 20 minutes, and I'll be back. Okay, the virtual family, there you have it, our air fry potato. Look at it, so yummy, so scrumptious, so delicious. So I'm going to present it to you, and I'll be right back. Okay, virtual family, there you have it, our air fry